Welcome to another edition of Ballin with Roy and Edwyn. I am Roy S. Johnson. This is my son, Edwyn Lawrence Johnson, and we are here once again to talk about what's happening in sports and life. What's going on, Edwyn? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, Daddy?
I'm doing great, man. The NBA playoffs have gotten off to a fast start. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the retirement of Jay Wright at Villanova. Here's a coach, certainly at the top of the game. He is 21 seasons at Villanova, premium program, 2 national championships, already in the Hall of Fame. Was really a shocking retirement for those who follow Villanova and follow college basketball. What do you think of Jay Wright's move, and why do you think he did it?
Honestly, I think he did it. And again, he's one of the few coaches that was able to survive the one and done just because he was able to have his players buy in to staying for whether it was 2 years or 3 years, as opposed to even Coach K and John Calipari. Their schools, their programs were one and done for the past, 15 years or so. But for him to just be able to survive that, and again, yes, he has 2 national championships, 2016, 2018. You look at all his other accomplishments, 4 Final Four appearances this year.
Yeah, including this year, went to the Final Four, right.
Again, 5 Big East titles, that's 3rd most all time. 6 30-plus win seasons, that's 6 most time in D1 history. So, he clearly has the resume too. And again, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know necessarily if he's going to retire because he didn't really say anything. We don't know if he's possibly going to go to the NBA, which is less likely, but we can't X that out either. I know the Lakers would be knocking on his door if he were to make that announcement that he wants to go coach the pros. But you don't really know. But honestly, just the way that I would say when it comes to the transfer portal, which is clearly a big thing, and not just basketball, but college football as well too. That's one thing too. And again, he really didn't have to go through that much because again, he was able to have his players buy into the program and just trust in him. So they pretty much committed to Villanova. But Charles Barkley he praises him so much because for one, when he played for the Sixers too, on top of that, and his daughter wanted to go to Villanova, he looked out for her while she was there too. And then he inducted him into the Hall of Fame, though also, as you said, he's already there too on top of that. So a lot of people have been talking about just him as a great, not just a basketball coach, but a great man, a great human being too, which a lot of people were talking about the last couple of days. There were just so many coaches contacted, so many just people in the media, so many journalists about the real reason why he did it, or it's such a sad day for college basketball.
Yeah, let's talk about a couple of things you mentioned. One, you said that we don't know what he's going to do in the announcement. They said he was going to be special assistant to the president. He certainly can still be an ambassador for Villanova. It is hard to believe. We see so many of these times where coaches still want to coach a little bit. He may take a year off, or so he's 60 years old, which is still young in the coaching profession. There are coaches who coach well into their 70s, so he may take a little hiatus. I think you're absolutely right. If he even gave a hint that he would coach, the Lakers would call. The Lakers may be calling anyway, just to see if there's any way they could entice him out there. But it's like, let the man have his stage right now. Let him figure out what he's going to do. It was a surprise announcement probably to anyone who wasn't close around him, but he certainly deserves this opportunity to decide what he wants to do next. He has given all of his due to Villanova and certainly deserves the opportunity to try to figure out what to do next. So, and the other thing is, you mentioned the transfer portal. Yeah. Explain that to me. Break it down. Why is it such a big deal? Because I've heard it mentioned around coaching, around football and basketball. Right. What is it that makes it either good or bad for coaches? It's obviously good for players. It gives them more freedom. But what is it that puts a strain on coaches because of the transfer portal?
It puts a strain on coaches because you're looking to replace players that you worked extremely hard to recruit for years. Because a lot of these players at the Division I level, you're recruiting them. Sometimes you might recruit them even before high school, depending on, what level they're at, what level they're playing at. But you might look, because you can't really contact players and recruit them as freshmen, but you obviously can look at them. but you're really getting on them their sophomore year in high school. So that's a lot of recruitment. It's a lot of travel time, and you know, whether it's a coach, scouts, etc., you're putting that commitment into a lot of these players who are 4-star or 5-star recruits, and you have to replace them. But the problem is, a lot of players, again, when you talk about the entitlement, and again, you have college players now, guess what? They're able to make money. They're able to have endorsements now too. But even before that, the transfer portal has been for the last, I don't know if it's been the last, let's say 10, 15 years or so. But now just players wanting, whether it's not even just to win a championship, which is extremely hard too at that. It's just the simple fact of either to play more or have a system, a coach that fits them too on top of that. Because I hear about it probably a little bit more in football than I do college basketball.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's in both of them, though. That's the thing. And again, do some of these other coaches really go through it? Does John Calipari, do I really hear him, or Coach K was going through that so much? Maybe not. But at the same time, a lot of coaches, a lot of programs go through that. And again, if you are a true great player, no matter where you go, including, that's why, you know, you talk about so many of these good players being able to go to HBCUs, because if you're that good, your game's going to speak for itself no matter where you go.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, you mentioned NIL, name, image, and likeness. We're going to have to break that down one of these weeks a little deeper. I'm still talking to coaches and trying to figure out how to assess that, how it's impacting the games. I think it's good that players now have these options and opportunities, but I think it's still, the games are still trying to figure out whether it should be regulated a little bit more, but we'll break that down in another week. For right now, Jay Wright is giving himself an opportunity to decide what he wants to do with the rest of his life. We can talk about the transfer portal. Teams and colleges are investing in recruiting so much.
Can I just add one more thing, please?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. No, and I think the big thing too is that he left on his own terms too, because again, if he lost in, let's say, the first 64-32, we might have a different conversation. But because he went to the Final Four in his final year, which Coach K did as well, because we're losing both Coach K first and now him, honestly, with only a few weeks apart from each other. But the fact that, and again, both of them left on their own terms. Now again, Coach K lost that last regular season game at home against North Carolina, but other than that, they really both left on their own terms. I mean, they went to the Final Four too. So I mean, there's no better way to do that after 21 and 42 years of coaching one school, one team, and make them into powerhouses in college basketball.
Absolutely, no question about that. And before we go, give a shout out to Kyle Neptune, the new coach at Villanova. Big shoes to fill, is always tough to follow, a legend. Kyle worked at Villanova for 10 years, started as a video assistant and became an assistant coach and had success at Fordham. So wishing him nothing but good luck as he steps into Jay Wright's very big shoes. I got a feeling that a school like Villanova will support him, will give him the resources and give him the opportunity to grow and develop his own light, as opposed to trying to shine the Jay Wright light on him. So good luck to Kyle Neptune. All right, let's get into the NBA playoffs. Man, I mean, they're already off to a great start. So I'm just going to kind of go through these series. Give me your sense on where you think how you think they're going to end up. So let's start with Golden State. I mean, Steph Curry, coming off an injury, seems to be back. Golden State seems to be hot. I mean, they are up 3-0 on Denver. Thought Denver would give them more of a run. But right now, Golden State seems to have his swag back. They seem to have its fire back. What do you think about that series? Right now, as we talk, it's 3-0.
It's 3-0. So now, again, the team that Denver has been for the past 3 years, you would think, okay, let's say 2-1. Maybe it's 2-1. Possibly go to Game 7 in this series. And again, Golden State doesn't want to go to Game 7 in the first round. Of course not. They're getting older. They have all these injuries. But is it a surprise, though? Yeah, it is. Again, Jokic, Joker, again, possibly going to win MVP again this year. You know, I think Golden State has a much deeper bench, deeper team. But at the same time, you look at Denver, they have a good young team. Your superstar, he is playing well. I'm not going to lie, he is. And do I think that there is coaching. Steve Kerr is out coaching that coach, because I forget the coach's name for Denver too. Do I think he's being out coached too? Yes, I do. But there's a lot of energy. First of all, Draymond's the glue of the team. He's there. And I mean, even if you look at the stats from last night, so Jordan Poole had 27, Steph had 27, Clay had 26. Again, when you're able to, when your best players are playing like that, despite whose 27 points was more impactful regardless, most of the time it's going to come with a win. But there were definitely struggles. But again, to have those two guys, those three guys at that, shooting, doing what they do, when you have one of the top 5 shooters of all time to play like that. And even though, and we've seen times where they have gotten 35 points or 40 points, shooting like that too. But regardless, it was just shared. It was a team effort. The ball was spread all over the floor, because if you look at, just in terms of what Andrew Wiggins did, what Draymond did, everybody is doing something, having an impact both offensively and defensively for that team. And even Draymond, to play the defense that he plays at 6'7" on Jokic, who is 7 foot. Now, again, that man still hit his shots and he's still making his passes. He's still playing how he plays, but at the same time, the better team right now, and honestly, not even right now, but just in general too, the better team has always been the Golden State Warriors. With or without Steph, Clay, or Draymond, they still have been the better team.
And right now, they look like they found the fountain of youth. I thought this series would be a little closer, but I'll be surprised if it goes any more than 5 games. All right, let's go to Dallas and Utah. Dallas is up 2-1. It's an intriguing series. Both these teams are pretty evenly matched. Right now, they just kind of seem to be right at the beginning and kind of holding court and feeling each other out. How do you think this is going to end up?
Believe it or not, I think Dallas could take it.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say straight up they're going to, but what I saw last night, and again, really the highlights, because I didn't watch the game, because that game was actually on NBA TV. I'm honestly watching more of the games that are on TNT, but just for them to give up that game, Utah to give up that game to them last night. And the crazy thing is their best player was not even playing. Luka Doncic was not even playing. And you have your best players on the floor. Think about it. You have Donovan Mitchell, you have Rudy Gobert on the floor who are doing things. But I'm going to tell you what happened. Jason Kidd said, whoever Donovan Mitchell is on, we're going to attack them. And what he's doing is he's having those players spread out and they're able to shoot, because Rudy Gobert, he is a shot blocker. He's not, even though he had 15 points last night, which is not bad, it's decent for a player like him, because he's not like that dominant big man like Joel Embiid or like Jokic or like Cat. But he had 15 points. But other than that, he really cannot do anything. He's not a factor. Like Charles Barkley and Shaq saying he should not play, for the simple fact that there is nobody on there for him to guard, because even if they don't take it to the basket, they're spreading the ball out and they're taking these shots. He can't go out there and contest these shots. If they were coming to him, okay, he would probably have three or 5 blocks for the series so far, but they're not doing that. They're able to spread them out. And when Donovan Mitchell is on somebody, they want to attack him. So Jason Kidd is pretty much disrespecting him defensively too. So if I was him, I would get pissed off. And one for one, I would guard your best player first and foremost. But then offensively, I'm attacking, which I think, even though if you look at the highlights, he ended up driving to the rack, and he's 6'2". He plays like he's 6'6". He caught a ball. He dunked on, I forgot who it was. He dunked on last night too. But if I was him, just for him to say that to disrespect, I would definitely be going off the next game, because that's the fact that you're losing and the other team's best player is not on. Something's wrong with that.
You break it down. If anybody's an NBA fan, they need to listen to you to really break down these series. And I love it. To me, the most exciting player after Steph Curry right now is Jay Morant and Memphis. Memphis is only up 2-1 in that series. But watching the Memphis Grizzlies play, this is young bucks running wild, right? But they're playing together. They're playing with a fire. They're up 2-1 against Minnesota in that series. But I really hope they move on, because I really love watching Memphis play.
I think they're still going to win the series. And again, at first I thought it might be a sweep, but if you look at them, they're both two young teams. The only thing is I can't really say that Minnesota has more experience because if I'm not mistaken, I think they've only made the playoffs once in the last, I don't know if it's been 5 years or so, but, Karl Anthony Towns is 26 years old. Again, he only went to 1 year at Kentucky. D'Angelo Russell's young too. He only went to 1 year at Kentucky too. But they haven't done much too. And even this year, just being the 7th seed pretty much most of the year, the problem, and again, Anthony Edwards too. Look, they clearly are a good team. And again, you have the pest. You have a pest on your team defensively too, who's supposed to make John Morant extremely uncomfortable. And maybe he did that the first game too. But again, if Shaq wants to compare him to Kobe, when you're talking about he's the it factor, when you're talking about he knows he's the best player on the court, which is true. And that's crazy too, because you're talking about a third-year player compared to a big man who has led the league in shooting this year, who said he's the greatest big man shooter of all time, who obviously won the three-point contest too with that. But you're saying he is the best player. But the problem is the Timberwolves blew a lead. They do stupid things. They really do. Charles Barkley said last night they're very talented, but they're dumber than rocks. He said that last night. But he's right though, because
I know, right?
At the same time, and even the first game too, or whatever game it was, how do you let your best players, your two best players, get 3 to 4 fouls in the first half? Mm-hmm. When do you think by at least the second foul you're going to take them out? So those things are going to beat them. That's what I'm saying. But Cat is in year 7. You, with all due respect, I understand you haven't been in the playoffs a lot, but at some point in time, you should have more experience to know how refs call games, how they're going to call you too. But again, stop settling for the threes like so many big men do in today's game. Mm-hmm. Get down low and dominate. You shouldn't
just
have
because you can shoot it doesn't mean you should shoot it, right? So let's roll through these next series. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but a lot of people are sleeping on Miami. Miami is good. And right now, they're handling Atlanta pretty easily. They're up 2-0. Expect them to get past that series. So if you like Trae Young, you better watch him the next 2 games because he's probably gone. Then you've got Milwaukee and Chicago. That series is tied 1-1. Maybe it's nothing to be concerned about. I think Milwaukee will probably kick it in and win this series. But what do you see happening there? Why is Chicago able to at least hang with them so far?
If Chicago hangs with them so far, not to take anything away from them, they are a good team, but are they a team that you really believe is going to make a run in the playoffs? No. They had a good regular season. I would say they were a regular season team, them in Cleveland. But at the same time, if they're in this like this, that is on Milwaukee. Again, Chris Middleton is going to be out for the rest of the first round. Which, and again, at least it's not the rest of the playoffs, just the first round. Can they get through it? Yes, they absolutely can. And again, they still have other players other than Giannis. You still have Brook Lopez. You still have Drew Holiday, who's a great defender. On top of that, also, you still have Grayson Allen. You have those shooters and those other players too. So they just have to pretty much be able to take attention off of Giannis, because again, Giannis has to play smart basketball, go to the basket, stop, take the 2-pointers, take it, the mid-rangers around the key. Don't settle for the threes, but do what you do best. He's won Defensive Player of the Year award, so he can play defense. Plus, it's Chicago too. Not to say Chicago's a cakewalk, which I think ideally they are, but it's on them.
Call it like it is.
Yeah, I'll call it like it is.
Milwaukee's got to get his championship mentality back, right? They know it's a long road. They know what it takes to win. You can't sleep in the first round because, you got somebody who's got nothing to lose like Chicago. You don't want this to go to 6 games, right? You don't. You want to get in, get out, do your business, and move on, which is something I think that they should be able to do against Chicago. Similarly, Phoenix and New Orleans. New Orleans has nothing to lose. New Orleans knows they're playing the team that everybody now expects to get to the NBA Finals out of the West, the Phoenix Suns. But they're tied 1-1 at this stage. So again, Phoenix has got to be a little concerned. Got to kick it in.
They're going to win though. They're still going to win. Yeah. They should be concerned though. Milwaukee right now, okay, just get over it. Now, I don't think there needs to be any concern for Milwaukee. Phoenix, they do need to be concerned because there is a time limit for them. Do I think Chris Paul is going to win a championship? Do I think they're going to win a championship? No, probably not. Do I think the West is going to come down to Phoenix and Golden State? Yes. But at the same time, they have a time limit though too. And again, they have veteran players like Chris Paul. They have some young players like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, should this be a sweep? Should this be a sweep? Yes, it should. Should they have won a game? No, they should not. So yes, it should be a concern. But Absolutely. They still are going to win.
Can't wait to see that final series, Western Conference, if it's Golden State and Phoenix. You're right. Chris Paul, if you're dependent on Chris Paul to guide you there, that window is very narrow. They've got some great young players for whenever Chris Paul decides to walk away, so they're going to be okay. But I think everybody will be rooting for Chris Paul this year, even if they face Golden State, which will be a very, very tough out for them. All right, Philadelphia seems to be rolling a little bit in Toronto. That series may go 5 games. Philly seems to be having a nice roll, and Joel Embiid hitting the big shot probably really took the fire out of Toronto. It's tough to lose a game like that at home when you're just trying to hold court so you can go back to 2-1. So they're down 3-0. Philly's going to be going for the kill in this one. It won't go more than 5 games. The series to watch, though, is Brooklyn and Boston. I mean, Boston played hard, won those 2 games at home. Brooklyn's got veterans. They're back at home. I would not be surprised if this series is 2-2 at the end of these 2 games in Brooklyn. What about you?
It might be 2-2, but at the same time, KD he's been off the last game. And again, obviously the game before that, Kyrie, he did have a good game. It's just, again, him and his interactions with the fans, which I totally understand. And again, he got fined for his gestures and what he said, walking to the locker room. He obviously said something. So I do understand that, because I'm not going to lie. What he said, I've said that before too. So I get that also. But they have to come together and just be able to be the 2 best players, the 2 duos, which they are in right now. A lot of people make the comparisons, and again, players like LeBron, Tracy McGrady, they've said, they are the best duo in basketball right now, which it's kind of hard to argue that. I'm not really sold on it yet, because they're not out of the woods yet in terms of this, just for this series, though. Mm-hmm. Because the way that they beat KD up, how they were physical, I'm not going to say beat up, but the way they were physical, which is good too, because you like to be able to see physicality still in the game, especially today too. It really had him off though also, because again, the best defensive team in the league is Boston, and they clearly showed that. So is it going to be 2-2? I think so. I do believe it's going to be 2-2 this weekend. And then after that,
yeah, this might end up being the best series. I mean, this is a series you want to see go 7 games. If you got to have one in the first round, I'd love to see Brooklyn and Boston go 7 games. A lot of pressure on KD and Kyrie, because everybody calls them the best in the game, the best duo. I don't know if I would totally buy into that, but a lot of pressure on them and this franchise and this team to do better. They go through a lot of controversy. Some of it's self-imposed, but I think a lot of people are going to be watching this series. This will be one I'd like to see go 7 games. So a lot of stuff going on in the NBA. We'll be talking about it for the next few weeks. If you've ever been a baseball fan, and even if you're not a baseball fan, I just want to drop a name on you. I want you to pay attention to a young man called Jazz Chisholm Jr. But let me give you his whole name. His whole name is Jazrado Prince Hermes Arrington Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's a 24-year-old shortstop for the Florida Marlins. He was taught to play by his grandmother, who played for the Bahamian national softball team. He's from the Bahamas. He seems to have some fire. He seems to have some juice. He did something the other night when the umpire was trying to get him to hurry up and get into the box. He was taking his time. I mean, the man is 5'11", probably weighs 25 pounds. I mean, they say he's 165, but he's as skinny as a rail. He stepped in the box, first pitch, yanked it over the left field fence. I mean, and then he's got this home run celebration called the Euro step. I mean, when he gets to home plate, he goes a little bit to the side, I mean, look, usually you don't see this in baseball, but baseball really needs some energy. It needs some young fire. He doesn't have great stats yet, so it's not as if he is tearing the game up from a talent perspective, but you need people that are going to draw new fans to this game. I was a baseball fan growing up. I played baseball. Fan of the St. Louis Cardinals. My parents, most blacks early on, my parents' generation were Dodgers fans. because of Jackie Robinson, because Major League Baseball broke that color barrier and is still given credit for that. Again, I was a fan of the St. Louis Cardinals, played the sport, but it has really lost so many fans over generations. You played for a little bit, but you dropped out of it early and focused on basketball and football, which are more popular sports. Baseball needs somebody like Jazz just to draw some eyeballs, just to find out what did Jazz do today. Guarantee you're going to see some kids doing that Euro step. Now, baseball has generally kind of resisted showmanship, but take it easy, MLB. Let it go. Have some fun. Let people see you having a good time. I hope that nobody tries to bean this kid because of his showmanship. The umpire even got out of the way for his Euro step the other night. He's like, okay, kid, do your thing. So I'm rooting for him. Didn't know much about him. Would love to see him do well, and would love to see Major League Baseball at least have some flair and somebody that can bring some entertainment back to the game. What do you think of Jazz?
I think he's going to bring the entertainment that you're talking about. We haven't seen entertainment like this in MLB since Ken Griffey Jr. Mm-hmm. That's one. And it's not to say that he's on that level yet or anything like that, but just in terms of, as you said, when you texted me him, you're talking about he has a lot of swag and just the look, that everything. I think he's going to be the first player to like really just bring that back. Not to say from all these other great players, but the first one to really bring that back, I think, since Ken Griffey Jr.
He might actually have people watching baseball again. All right, man. Love it as always. Excited about the NBA playoffs. Excited about see what's going to happen next with Jay Wright and other college coaches again. Everybody's talking about what the Lakers are going to do. So even though it's the spring, a lot going on, and we have a lot to talk about. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone. It's always good. I've always enjoyed our discussions. So, folks, until the next time, keep balling. Love you.
Bye.